Welcome to In the Arena. I'm your host, Mindy McAlindon. Today, I'm honored to welcome Jennie DeSerio. She is a passionate woman whose work is deeply personal. After a heartbreaking loss of her son, Mason, Jennie turned her grief into action, becoming a leading voice for online safety and mental health awareness. She's fought for meaningful changes to TikTok's policies, championed COSA at the federal level, and is committed to protecting other families from experiencing the same pain. Her story is one of courage, persistence, and hope, and it's inspiring far beyond our state's borders. So, Jennie, welcome to the arena.
Hi, Mindy. Thank you for having me.
It is so great to have you.
Quite an introduction.
Well, I don't even think I did you justice, because there is just so much. You are such a strong woman. At full disclosure, Jennie is a dear friend of mine, but you are such a strong woman and a very inspiring woman, and I am so excited to share your story. So let's jump in. Tell us first a little bit just about your background before you began your advocacy work.
Okay, so you know how in junior high, they make you have home ec, and they want you to draw out what it is you want to be when you grow up. And I drew a house with a white picket fence and husband and wife and children and dogs. And my home ec teacher said to me, "Don't you want to be more than just that?" I said, "No, that's what I want to be." She says, "Jennie, you're so intelligent. You can be and do anything you want to be. So why would you limit yourself?" And I looked at her even in junior high and said, "How is being the best mom and best wife that I can be limiting myself? That is actually opposite. I am giving back to the world everything that is meaningful."
That is awesome. And you know what? It does not surprise me that you were that precocious when you were in junior high. But I love that you said that. And I will say, being a mom, I mean, it may not be the most PC thing to say, but being a mom, I think, is the highest calling that we have. So I agree with you.
Yeah. And then I stood by that, and unfortunately, social media became so popular. And as a parent of this generation, which we're the first parents to parent in the digital age, and we don't have the tools, we don't have the resources. So
we don't.
No, we don't. There's no guardrails, and there's not enough education.
There's not, but don't jump ahead yet. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what brought us here, because you were on the front lines of knowing and understanding that the guardrails don't exist, and what the consequences of that is. So I'm just going to briefly summarize it, and then I'm going to let you run. Your journey began after the tragic loss of your son, Mason, just such a sweet, sweet boy of 16. But he died by suicide after some harmful online interactions on TikTok, which we're going to dive into. But in the midst of this just unimaginable grief, and I mean, I went through this with you, you made such an amazing, brave decision to speak out and not to just, wallow in a grief, which no one would have faulted you for, but instead you made a determination to say, I'm going to change the system. I'm going to change the platforms that failed him and protect other families, which is just amazing. And I admire you for this. So let's first talk about, how did you first recognize that TikTok was part of the problem in Mason's suicide?
So several months after Mason took his life, I, of course, being a grieving mom and racked with just questions about why, what if, those are rabbit holes that suicide survivors go through, especially parents. I did a deep dive into Mason's phone, and I went into TikTok, and there was a grayed out icon that I didn't even think was an icon. And I am the kind of mother that goes through my children's phones and their devices regularly. And I monitor all of their social media. All parental guidances are set. All the parameters are set. Like, I am and have always been on top of watching what my children are interacting with. So Mason went through a breakup. His girlfriend cheated on him with his best friend, who was sent pictures of that. And he went to TikTok, and I found, months after his death, I found the videos that he had liked. And TikTok keeps a log of the videos that you have liked in chronological order. So the last video you liked is the first video you saw. So I was able to back into the last video that he liked into when the suicide content started, which was on or about November the 1st. The videos, the more he interacted with the platform and the more he liked the videos, the darker and more disgusting the videos became. They were violent. They were disgusting. They romanticized, encouraged. They basically told my son to kill himself, and it was, kill yourself, and kill yourself by this means. Over and over and over again, it was one specific mean of suicide that was repeated. Now, we're talking about a 16-year-old boy who is going through a traumatic time in his life, and he's very vulnerable. There was one particular video that concerns me the most. And it sounds funny to say that this video is more concerning than what the suicidal videos were, but the video that I watched showed two children suspended in time in a school hallway with fast track movement aside of them, blah, 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 like moving. And they're just suspended there. And the verbiage said, TikTok knows more about your mental health than your own friends and family do. So what TikTok is saying is, you can't trust your friends. You can't trust your family. You have to trust us, which unfortunately is what Mason was doing. Because I sat down with him the night before and I had a very frank conversation, and we've never shied away from conversations in my house. We had a pediatric appointment scheduled for that week. Mason was actively asking for help for his mental health, and we were getting that. We were that day talking about, hey, which therapist do you like the best? I underestimated the addiction that the phone had with Mason. And that night, I wanted him to get a good night's sleep, and I did something I routinely did, and I took his phone from him. He had what I can only call as a nervous breakdown. And again, I inadvertently created a mental health crisis. I think most parents would say, hey, if I know my child's struggling, I'm going to take the phone. I'm going to remove what I see as being the danger and the harm. Well, in this instance, it did not turn out the way I would have liked, of course. Mason ran across the room. He punched me. He fractured my occipital orb right here. And Mindy, you know that was not Mason.
It's not Mason.
It was not Mason.
Such a sweet kid. Yeah.
I know.
And adored you.
I adored me, protected me everywhere I went. I literally, everything I did, Mason was like, that's my mom. That's my mom.
Great.
That's my mom. So,
but it wasn't him, right? It was this addiction that had taken over.
The addiction. And I would liken it to an opioid addiction. So it's no different than if I was to have taken away heroin away from a heroin addict. But that was not known to me because it's not discussed. And especially 2.5 years ago, this was not a subject that was being talked about. It was quiet. People were hiding from it. And I remember when I found the videos, I sent you a message.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Mindy, I said, like, if there's not something being done about this, then I have to do something. I have to be the one to sound the alarm. I'm going to scream from the mountaintops. So you helped me get linked up with several organizations that worked with or are working with legislators to get meaningful legislation passed. So our children aren't exposed to the various harms, because suicide content isn't the only thing that's out there.
It's not.
We also have body dysmorphic content.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to pull the stats to quote them accurately, but I do think that 80% of the fentanyl that is sold to children, and again, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, so I'm going off of memory, but 80% of the fentanyl that's sold to our children is being sold to them via Snapchat. Snapchat is the biggest drug distributor in our country.
Well, let's talk about what kind of steps you've taken to push for change. I know you've been a big advocate of COSA. So let's talk about, what is COSA? What is the point of it?
Okay, so COSA is the Kids Online Safety Act, and it requires platforms, all social media platforms, to have a duty of care, meaning that if our children are exposed to any kind of dangerous content, which would be anything sexually exploitive, self-harm, eating disorders, drugs, that they can be held liable for those interactions. Because we're not talking about like going to the yellow pages, right? Like when we were kids. This is literally a portal. Your child's device is literally a portal into your home to allow predators to reach out to your children. And these platforms continue to allow it. So COSA would remove the algorithms that are automatic. And it's the algorithm that ultimately feeds you not the stuff you are searching for, but the stuff you can't look away. So in Mason's case, he was searching for positive affirmations, inspirational quotes. And it literally took just 10 or 15 minutes for the algorithm to flip and start sending him self-harm content. And the more he interacted with the self-harm content, the more it sent him the self-harm content.
Which, let's say that again, because I want to be sure people heard that. Mason was never searched for suicide.
No.
That was not what he was looking for. He was looking for
positive affirmation and inspirational quotes. Yeah. And I can send you the screenshots of the videos of where you can see his search of what he was looking for. But the very first video that he liked, that was, I want to say it was titled Positive Affirmations, but it had very depressing content and very depressing music. He interacted with that. And the algorithm picked up on that. And it picked up on that vulnerability, and it picked up on that this kid was not necessarily looking, let me rephrase that. This child may be looking for positive affirmations and inspirational quotes. Mm-hmm. But once that child receives those affirmations, they're going to put the phone down. And that's not what the platforms are designed to do.
That's not what the platform wants. That's right.
So the platform wants them to stay engaged. So instead of sending Mason the things that he wanted to see, mm-hmm. sending him things that he couldn't look away from.
Yeah, which is exactly what all the platforms do this. But TikTok, I think, is one of the most egregious at what they do because their algorithm is so sophisticated. So let's dive in a little bit. When you started down this fight, you found out, as I understand it, you were not the only parent whose child fell into this algorithm and committed suicide.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yes, absolutely correct. I was astonished to see the amount of parents who have become family to me, honestly. Like, I love them dearly. I don't know how I get through a day without support that I've gotten from these parents, because nobody can sit with you in the grief like another parent. Like, to sit with another mom who has lost their most precious being, and just to sit and know and understand is extremely important. But at the same time, we are kind of forced to be reckoned with. We have stormed DC. We have met with every single senator, every single House member. We won't stop until there is meaningful legislation. We're pushing both houses to get legislation passed that protects our children. I'm happy that states like Arkansas have passed legislation that protects our children. And I'm honored that I could be part of that, and that Mason could be part of that. So,
Which is actually called Mason's Law in Arkansas, correct?
yes.
Yeah, it is. So let's move on to the Big Beautiful Bill. So a lot of people hear about the Big Beautiful Bill. It's a little controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it, and they think about spending. It's either tax cuts that got prolonged, which was great, or people like, oh, it's too much spending. But there are some really important things that were in this bill that related to what you've been working on with protecting kids. So, and that was in the bill, and I don't think it ever got talked about, but it was pretty significant. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was really significant, and it definitely did not make headlines. So in the Big Beautiful Bill, there was a AI moratorium. It would have stopped states from passing any legislation that would have any kind of control over artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. And the algorithms, the verbiage in the Big Beautiful Bill stated that algorithms were computer driven and that they would be considered artificial intelligence. So what that portion of the Big Beautiful Bill was saying was specifically, algorithms are AI generated, and we cannot, even as a state, put restrictions on an algorithm, which is wholly damaging. And we have so many state AGs and governors that are so proactive in making sure that children are okay and safe and protected. Our governor being one of them, our AG being one of them, thankfully. But to strip away the state's power like that was, I feel, against every GOP agenda. We want to give the states the rights. We are a republic.
That's right.
And we want the states to be able to have their constituents vote on what they want to have represented and what they don't want to have represented. And this moratorium would have stripped away those states' rights, which would have ended up hurting tens of thousands of kids.
But you and your Mama Bear group really went to work. You made phone calls. You
I didn't
Just
sleep for, I didn't sleep for
burn at the
36
phone.
hours. I didn't sleep. Yeah. When the whole Votorama was going on,
Yeah.
I was on a 36
Oh,
hour.
I know. You were texting me in the middle of the night. I remember.
Well, I was texting Senator Graham's like chief of staff, and I was like, okay, because Mason's buried in South Carolina. Mason was born in South Carolina. That's kind of where my family and my roots are. So I was reaching out to everybody, but it wasn't just me. There was a group of about 5 moms, and we used our massive network to reach out to all these senators and to also reach out to all these governors and all these AGs, sharing our stories and explaining why the AI moratorium would be harmful to American children.
Yeah.
And it was not a pretty fight. And I finally fell asleep that night, and woke up to the wonderful news that it had passed 99-1 with blocking the AI moratorium.
Yeah.
And Marsha Blackburn was instrumental in that. She listened to the parents. And I do think that there are a lot of other senators that listened to the parents. Because the voices, you can have all these lobbyists that have, tens of thousands of dollars thrown at them every single year. But you can't look at a parent who has a board full of memories of their deceased child in their child's room that remains untouched and not be impacted. So I do feel like the parents are going to win. I have to have faith in that. I have to have trust in that, because that is true democracy at work.
It is. And I do love, that is what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to listen to your constituency. And we know that DC has gotten all upside down on how that works. But I think that you did. It's such an American story that like these just 5 or 6 mamas came in and literally changed the big, beautiful bill. You changed the direction it was headed with great leadership, as Senator Blackburn, who, is a personal favorite of mine, but she has been a real advocate, even with COSA, fighting that fight all along. And so she just has done an amazing job. But you 5 or 6 moms really made an amazing impact and made a difference for hundreds and hundreds of kids without question. So
we thought we blocked it, but it wasn't even, it's not even that it was a bipartisan issue. It's a nonpartisan issue.
Correct.
So
it should be. Yeah.
It was. And so it involved Senator Klobuchar and Blumenthal and Blackburn and Hawley. So again,
you don't hear those names together very often.
No, but guess what? You do hear them together in kids' online safety.
Yeah, protecting kids.
And this is something that all of America can agree on. Again, it's not a bipartisan issue. It's a nonpartisan issue. We need to protect our children. Our children are our most valuable assets. They are our future. If we are not protecting them from online harms, we are failing as a society. So our legislators need to step up, and they need to pass meaningful legislation. And it was the grassroots efforts of moms who blocked the AI moratorium. And
it's such a great story. Yeah, don't mess with mom. I think this is the bottom line here. Don't mess with moms. Okay, so we're going to wrap up, but let me ask you a question real quick. You have dealt with so many parents who have gone through this. You have been, and I think I have told you this personally, and so I'm not sharing anything we haven't talked about, but like, I don't know how you do it. I saw you, even just a few months after Mason's death, helping other parents go through a death of their child and supporting them. And I was in awe of, and I've told you this personally, I don't know how you do what you do. I don't know where your strength, other than from the Lord, I don't know where your strength comes from. and your love of Mason, I think, and fighting for him. But what would you tell someone who maybe has a child they think is going through some sort of crisis, or maybe they've lost a child? What kind of tools or resources would you offer to them to say, here's what you can do, or here's how you can plug in, or here's some help?
Okay, well, let's start first with a person who is having suicidal tendencies, because I did lose a friend, a very close friend, 3 weeks ago to suicide, and I ended up getting a suicide note from her. I called in a welfare check for her, and it was ignored. But for those who are suffering and having some kind of suicidal ideology, there is always the hotline, the suicide hotline 988 that you can call. If you are a parent, you can reach out to me personally. You can reach out to the Parents Network, which is based with the R12 Foundation. There are a lot of resources out there. My personal attorney is Social Media Victims Law Center. They represent some of the biggest cases out there. They were featured, and I was featured in a documentary recently that's called Can't Look Away, and it's on jolt.film. It explains a lot. And it's not just focused just on suicide. It's focused on all of the harms that our children are exposed to, and just how vulnerable our youth are. Yeah. And if you're a parent, my guess is you feel hopeless. I'm just going back to how I felt. And you feel like you don't have any help. And you've got a very stubborn child who is being peer pressured into having social media and interacting with social media. And whether we think we have all the controls or not, we really don't, because they can get access to devices that have Wi-Fi compatibility, and they can set up accounts that we're not even aware of, which is what happened in Mason's case. So as parents, if you're seeing addiction in your child, speak to your pediatrician, find a therapist, work with your school, have your school set up alerts, and talk about what you feel like are the signs that your child is struggling. For Mason, he would scratch. He would scratch his arms, he would scratch his legs. And that's when I knew that his anxiety was really, really high. And when he was at school, he would scratch his arms, he would scratch his legs, he would put his hoodie up over his head. And the day he took his life, I had reached out to one of his favorite teachers, and I was like, hey, we've seen Mason today. How's Mason doing? Mason was famous for his huge, huge smile. No, she's like, Jenny, everything's good. I saw him. He was in the lunch line, and I got the Mason smile. So I know that doesn't sound really empowering, but you have to be proactive and know that your child is most likely not going to come to you. So go through all their social media accounts, check their rooms for devices that might be hidden. Look under their beds. Look, I'll give you one of the things my boys told me. They were actually hiding devices behind pictures that I didn't know about. So
good to know.
Yeah. So children, when I was a child, I don't know about you, Mindy, I might have been a little more rebellious than you were. But
I'm not confessing to anything. My parents watch this.
Well, I'll admit it. I'm not. So I was rebellious more than you were, Mindy.
Yeah.
So when my parents would take my phone away from me, I had other phones hid in my room. Yeah. And because they were $10 at whatever local discount store I could get. So then my mom would find one of those phones, and then, okay, let her take that phone because I got 14 other like kids without my room. But listen, that's what teenagers do.
It was resourceful. You were resourceful.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
And that is the definition of teenager. I am right with you.
Exactly. So that's what we need to, as parents, be aware of, that, we want to have total control, but we have to realize that we don't. And that's where we need help from our state and our federal government to help us with that.
Yeah. And you are definitely fighting for that. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up because we're a little bit long, but last question. What is one thing that you hope to still accomplish in your lifetime in terms of public service and advocacy? Like if you could do one more thing, you've done so much already to fight for our kids, which I'm grateful for, but what is that one more thing that you would do if you could?
Okay, I might start crying on this one. I don't want to stop at just protecting American children. I want to protect children all across the world. I get messages from parents from everywhere, from Turkey, from Italy. Oh no, not Italy, because Italy has restrictions, but Turkey and the Netherlands and South American countries, Guatemala. Just got a message from a parent in Argentina, and they have access to content that children should not have access to. Suicidal content, dark web content. So I want to see social media harms removed, but I want to also sunset Section 230. So our laws don't just protect American children, but they protect children all over the world.
That's amazing. That is an amazing, and I have actually no doubt that you will make that happen. So I know you well enough to know that there's nothing that stops you. So, Jennie, I've really enjoyed our time today. I just enjoy time with you in general, but I've enjoyed our time today.
We always talk about you.
Yeah.
It's always good to see you.
It's good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing Mason's story. I mean, I know it's every time you tell it, it brings up a lot, but you are so articulate and you do such a great job of just sharing that and being a fighter for all of our kids. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I do feel like while it's Mason, it's also God that's helping me and leading me through this. Having such a simple background that I do, the fact that I've been able to make as much change and bring as much awareness as I have, that's not just me. I have help, and I know where the help is coming from. And I go to bed every night thankful for that.
That's amazing. You're an amazing woman. Jennie, I look forward to seeing you soon. I'll see you in a few days.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Well, I hope you've enjoyed, or at least benefited and learned from Jennie DeSerio's story today. It is such a powerful reminder that even in deep grief, courage rises up. She told us about the loss of her son, Mason, who was just such a sweet, sweet young man. But he had some interactions with TikTok that led him down a path that he wasn't searching for, but that he went down, and he committed suicide. And through that, she has become just a fierce advocate for online safety, for kids' mental health, taking the fight, not just in Arkansas, but all the way to DC and to our capital. She has fought for COSA, Kids Online Safety Act, to be passed. She helped fight back with some other moms to make sure that this was protected in the big beautiful bill, and she continues to push forward with persistence to save lives. So I just really appreciate Jennie sharing her heart today. As she said, if anyone is suffering from mental health and is looking for some information, dial 988 on your cell phone, and you can be connected with the suicide hotline. But I really appreciate Jennie reminding us that one person's determination can change the world, because she certainly has. And so thank you to Jennie, thank you to Mason, and I look forward to seeing you next week in the arena.